Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday and a happy Good Friday as well for those of you who are celebrating Easter this weekend. My name is Ellie. Welcome to Facebook Live. We do this every week, but you might notice I am not Alex. Alex is actually, he's got a bank holiday today, and in Scotland, we don't have this day as a bank holiday. So I asked him if it would be all right if I hosted this instead. So I hope you're not disappointed, and I'm hoping I can do just as good a job as Alex can. I hope I'm a suitable replacement for him. So take a seat, cup of tea, cup of coffee, biscuits, cake, something to relax you, and just sit back and you can listen to me waffle on about our latest record releases for the next 30 minutes or so. I don't think I'm going to be able to manage a full hour if I'm honest. I don't know how Alex does it, bless him. But if you are listening, just give me a quick comment just so I know that the stream is working correctly, that you can hear me okay as well. We did have some problems with Paul Nixon's talk on, was it Tuesday? Goodness, yes, it was Tuesday. We had some issues then, which was a bit of a shame, but we'll try and re-record it and we'll try and get it back online for you. I know a lot of you tuned into Brian's Irish talk yesterday. I hope you enjoyed that. Brian is an absolute gem. So is Paul as well. I shouldn't have favourites at all. Hopefully we have Niall in the comments with us as well. So if you do have any questions, drop them in the comments, and hopefully Niall will get to those as soon as he can. So let's have a look and see who's with us today. So we've got Ian. Hello, Ian. We've got Lynn, Linda, Nicole, Denise, Amanda. It's so great that you guys could join us today. So thank you very much for that. So what we're going to talk about today is the new records that have come to Findmypast this week. There's a lot to get through, and I'll try and do those as succinctly as I possibly can. And what else are we going to talk about? Oh yes, other hobbies besides family history that you might be revisiting, you might be starting at the moment. So if there's any that you're particularly enjoying, just let me know in the comments. And also, of course, our question of the week as well, which is on like penny drop moments in family history or light bulb moments, just when everything falls into place. I really, really want to hear about your stories. So please put them in the comments and we'll have a look at some of those a little bit later on. Who else have we got joining us here? We've got Karen. Hi, Karen. Anya, Rosie, Joe, William, Claire from Australia. Goodness, it must be early for you. Thank you for joining us, Claire. Who else? We've got Shirley, Patricia, two Patricias. Lovely. Yeah, let me know what the weather's like with you guys as well. It's a little bit overcast here in Scotland. I was actually sitting with a blanket around myself yesterday. I was so cold. And I was on video chats to some of my colleagues who are down south nearer London, and they were saying, "Ellie, are you cold?" And I was like, "Yes, it's freezing here. I think it was about 8 degrees yesterday." And they were like, "Oh, it's 20 degrees here. It's 25 degrees." And I'm like, thank you so much for that." But I wouldn't. I love it up here in Scotland. I don't know if any of you have been up here, but it's a lovely place to visit. And there are worse places to have to be isolated in at the moment, shall we say? Oh, who else have we got joining us? We've got Kim. Shirley says it's sunny in Southend. William says grey and cloudy in Penrith. Amanda's in her garden and it's very warm. Oh, I'm so jealous. We do have a little communal garden here at our flats, but I don't think that's the best thing to be doing at the moment. Bright and sunny in Bilston, lovely. Overcast in Lancashire and chilly, says Glenys. Oh, that's a shame. Hopefully it'll perk up over the Easter weekend in any case. Now, before we get started, there was something I wanted to mention. I don't know if you saw, but I put something on Facebook through the week, which was asking you about photographs from your collection or from your family's collection that mean a lot to you, and why they're important to you. And I was amazed by some of the photos that came through. I had a really good time looking through those and also reading through the stories behind them as well. But what really got me was when I saw at least two members of our community who were taking some of the more damaged photographs and restoring them, and then putting the restored photos on that thread. And then it brought a tear to my eye, it warmed my heart, it made me smile, and I'm forever grateful for all of you and how you help each other out and how you support each other. um, it's truly remarkable, especially in times like this. So just thank you to if you've helped somebody out, and especially to those few people who are doing the photo restorations. Thank you so much. A little bit of kindness goes an awful long way at the moment, and it can always be passed forward. This kind of thing has a ripple effect. So just bear that in mind going forward. I know that when Alex does these live broadcasts on a Friday, that you all do help each other out in the comments as well. So I just love to see it. So thank you is basically what I wanted to say there. Now, before we get started, there was one more thing I wanted to say. I put a call out for brick walls on Facebook during the week as well, and I thought we could maybe post some on our Facebook page, maybe in the forum as well, and we could try and help break down these brick walls for people. If it's the kind of thing that you enjoy, I put one on this week, and there's one going on the weekend as well. If you like that kind of thing, let me know, and we'll do more of them next week and in the coming weeks as well, because I know how much you all like to help each other out, and it's really nice. What else have we got here? Chrissy in sunny Llandudno. Oh, I'm from near Llandudno. I've got very fond memories of just walking along the prom there as well. The Great Orme, the dry ski slope. Yes, lots of fun memories of Llandudno. Hi, Diane in Edinburgh. Hello, Julie. Lovely, fantastic. Well, what we'll do is then we'll have a quick look at the new releases, and then we'll move on to hobbies and also on to our question of the week. Okay, so this week to Findmypast, we have released 1,000 additional records into the Northumberland marriages, and these are for St Peter's Church in Cambois. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced that. These are all from the Northumberland and Durham Family History Society, so thank you very much for those. We've also got 9,000 more records into the Northumberland baptisms, and we've got 7 new parishes there, and they're all marked if they're new parishes, just in case you need to see which ones have been added. And we've got exciting ones, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. We've got over 22,000 new records into the Northumberland and Durham memorial inscriptions, and a smaller number of these actually have attached images as well, which is fantastic. And there are 16 new parishes there. We've got over 4,000 records into Durham baptisms, and there are 4 updated parishes there. And then we've got newspapers as well, so it's almost like a bumper crop this week. I don't know if it quite compares to the electoral registers last week, because we had a lot of new electoral registers last week. So for newspapers, we've added the Halifax Guardian for the years 1832 to 1921, but those years are not inclusive. So if you've got West Yorkshire connections or roots, fantastic, do have a look at that. The newspaper features work by Branwell Bronte, who was the brother of Emily and Charlotte Bronte. We've also got the Midland Tribune, which covers a lot of Irish counties for 1881 to 1912. And our final new title is the Englishman's Overland Mail. This was first published in 1864, and it was founded by the same chap who helped found the Times of India, Robert Knight. And this was also just known shortly as the Englishman. It was published in what was then Calcutta, and it contained news about India primarily. And we have this for 1864 to 1928, but again, those years are not inclusive. In addition, we've also added new years. We've added 1835 to 1937, I think, for the existing Halifax Express. I think that's right. Apologies if it's not. So that was an awful lot to go through. I did want to draw your attention to the memorial inscriptions. I don't know if you've ever used these before, but they are a brilliant resource. You can get more information than you can normally from a death record or a parish record, because they're slightly different. In essence, there is information from a gravestone or a memorial plaque. And while the information available does vary, it can include the names of other family members buried in the same plot. For example, the wife of X, the children of Y, and so on and so forth. And then if they were a prominent person in the community, maybe even great deeds as well. So a lot of information that you can find there. I do want to point out some of these records, while they do have attached images, there's a small number that do have images, not all of them have surnames, and this is because the person listed is the wife of or the daughter of, etc. So just watch out for that. You can, however, search by using a first name, use a rough year, and pop in the parish as well. So that way you won't miss anything. And always check that transcription because it will have the inscription details on it, and then check the original image as well, just in case, because you might be able to see a picture of the gravestone. Some of them are quite difficult to read, depending on how old they are. I'm sure you know this. You know, any genealogist, most genealogists quite like a walk through an old cemetery, and some of them do get quite worn away over time. And a while ago, actually, a fun fact, Miko and I were walking through the Howth Cemetery in Dundee. It's very, very peaceful in there. Some beautiful old gravestones, and a lot of them are very, very old. And it was during the winter when we took our walk, and it was sort of when we had the first frost. And the frost had settled in such a way that it had highlighted some of the incredible artwork on some of these gravestones, the ones that had been worn away, and you could actually see them a lot clearer. I did take a few pictures at the time, and if anybody is interested, I'm happy to share those in the forum after we've finished today. So just drop me a quick note in the comments if you're keen to see those. So as an example, I did have a look in. Just pop that down properly and not break anything. I did have a look in the Northumberland and Durham memorial inscriptions, and I found, as an example, John Abbott in the parish of Gateshead in St Mary, Durham. And if you open up the transcription, I'll see if I can just pop it into the comments for you if you wanted to go open it up and have a look. Let's see if that works. So in this ROM record, we've got John, and it's the inscription actually reads, "The burial place of John Abbott, Sarah his wife, died October 6, 1831, aged 51 years. Joseph his son died May 18th, 1832, aged 21 years. And Charles James his son died March 13th, 1832, died aged 20 years." So from that one record, we've got a family of 4 there, and from their ages we can work out their birth years, and we've also got their death dates as well. So it's a lot of information to gain from one record, actually. I'm hoping it worked when I popped it into the comments. Yes, it did. And do open up the original image as well, because there's one attached to this one, and have a look at that. It really, really wonderful what you can find there. And if you've made any discoveries using memorial inscriptions, let me know. I'd be really, really pleased to hear them. Now, before we move on, let's have a quick look back in the comments. What are you all talking about in here? Nicole, I'm currently having a photo of my 3 times great grandfather restored, and I can't wait. Please, will you share it with us if you're allowed to, just so we can have a look at this all before or after. I really love seeing photo restorations. I think they're just the little pieces of magic, shall we say. Um, what else have we got here? Patricia, sitting in my garden in Spain, glorious weather. Very nice, Patricia. That sounds gorgeous. Karen, hope you're keeping well. First live post, very interesting. Researching my family tree since 2005. That's impressive. I hope you're enjoying yourself, Karen. Hello, Cindy. Sue, say hello to the Llandudno goats. Yes, this made me laugh and chuckle so much. I don't know if any of you saw, but there was a news story about some mountain goats that had come down from the mountains in Llandudno in North Wales, and they were just taking advantage of the fact that there were no people around. And the pictures were very funny, actually. It made me miss home a little bit because I've been living here for about 5 years now, and I only get back to Wales maybe twice a year or so. What else have we got here? Catherine joining us from New Zealand. We've got Karen. Amanda says, I found a burial for a child with a monument inscription for somebody else. I see. Sue rightly says gravestones can also be specific about where the person lived. Yep, you're absolutely right. Patricia, my uncle who died at 6 months was buried with a lady unknown to us. How strange. Have you found out any more about that at all? I'd be really interested to hear that. Let's see what else we've got here. William has popped the link to the takeover of Llandudno by mountain goats. He's put a link to that in the comments, so if you'd like to have a look. It cheered me up. I hope it would cheer you up as well. So yeah, going back to my question of the week about sort of light bulb moments in family history. So when the pieces of a family history puzzle, so to speak, sort of fall into place, whether you find that little final clue, I really want to hear about your stories. So I'll give you a little bit chance to put some of those in the comments. And while you maybe pop those in there for me to read out, I'll read you one of mine, if that's okay. Something that was really a moment for me. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, when I started at Findmypast, this was going on 4 years ago now. I'd never looked at family history before, and I was very, very fortunate that my auntie on my dad's side, she's been doing family history for many, many years, and she'd already done a lot on my dad's side, and she sent me over quite a few of her notes. She'd actually worked out that we were very distantly related to William Wordsworth. I still haven't worked out quite how that happened, but that's a story for another time. In any case, there was one particular section of her notes that said she was talking about my grandfather, his parents, and his siblings, and they were from the Wrexham area of North Wales. And the note said in her research that at some point in the 1930s, the family moved to Rhyl to move away from the mining industry. And I read that and I thought, well, why? And I asked my auntie at the time, and she said she wasn't sure. And quite coincidentally, about a year ago, I was doing some research into my dad's side, and I know that they worked in the mining industry in the Wrexham area at the beginning of the 20th century. So my grandfather's parents were Robert Thomas Jones and Nellie Griffiths Rogers, and then Thomas's parents were William Henry Jones and Mary Gittins. And I can't remember how I came across this, but for some reason I started looking at the Gresford mining disaster of 1934. And at that time, there was an explosion that tragically killed 266 workers in the mine. And Robert, my great grandfather, was a coal miner from that area. And I came across this website, which was a list of all of the victims of the disaster. And I'll just put this in the comments for you as well, just in case anybody is interested. Now, of course, with a name like Jones, there are a lot of Joneses listed amongst the victims. So it would have taken me a while to find a connection there. But then I saw a Joseph Gittins, aged 42, who was also among the deceased. And that was my penny drop moment, because my great grandfather Robert probably knew many people who were affected by this disaster, many of whom probably died as well. And one of the people on this list was a Gittins. And remember that his mother was a Gittins, and that's a much less common name than Jones, so it's handier to pinpoint. So I then put the pieces together, and because this happened in 1934, and I know that by 1939 the family were living in Rhyl rather than in Wrexham, it was just my light bulb moment. That's why they moved, because of this awful disaster. My great grandfather wanted to take his young family and his wife away from the mining industry and to somewhere a little bit safer. So yeah, that's my little story. I mean, I've had a couple of other little moments like that where everything just falls into place after you've done bits and bobs of research. It might be something you've researched for several years, and suddenly there's just that one little clue that makes everything just fit together. Let's just have another look in the comments here. Jacqueline, I'm from Borty Ferry, have some ancestors buried in the house. That's incredible. Be interested in the frost-covered gravestones photos. I'll see if I can share them in the forum afterwards. I do have them somewhere. I'll have to dig them out. And Joe says, a relative buried in church graveyard quite close to the door. Does this mean he was important or rich? I'm not actually sure on that one. Let's hope somebody else in the comments knows the answer to that one. And Kim's got something for me here. So she says, I recently got in touch with a fifth cousin who had access to letters written by a second cousin's second time, twice removed in 1902. She listed information and ancestors back to the 1820s. That's handy. Isn't it so nice when things like that happen? Right, what else have we got here? Jackie, hi. Most of my family are from Northumberland and Durham. Will these new records show up as new hints, or do I need to check people separately? So they should show up as new hints. We do hint against parish records, so just have a look in your hints. Maybe give it a couple of days, and we should start generating more hints from these new records for you. But it's always worth going to have a quick search in the records anyway. Maybe if you've got a family name that you're particularly interested in, just search the records for them and just see what crops up for the parishes you're looking for. What else have we got here? Diane, my paternal granddad was 1 of 7. Wow, okay, that's a lot. I discovered he was actually one of 14. 1 of 14? I mean, I had a great grandmother who was 1 of 12, but 4, okay, 14. His father died when he was 3. My grandfather was the last born. I'm not sure how much he knew, with 2 sets of twins all passed away. Yeah, it's very sad when that happens. You know, you have these huge families, and it is so tragic when not all of them live to adulthood and live to have families of their own. Hello, Sylvia. Apologies for being late. My grocery order arrived just as you started. Isn't that always the case? I think it's incredible that we're able to get groceries delivered now as well. It just means that if you can't go to the shops, and it's a good idea for you not to go to the shop, you can instead get them delivered instead. So I think absolutely wonderful the work that's been done. William says, my second great grandfather was 1 of 16. I can't imagine having 16 children. That's crazy. So the other things I wanted to chat to you about today was other hobbies that you may have taken up at this time or maybe revisited. So let me know in the comments and we'll read out a few. So in my spare time, outside of work, I am a writer. I write novels. I have had none of them published, but I enjoy it immensely. But I have found that recently I do not have the emotional energy to write. So I've been turning to other hobbies instead. So instead, I'm baking a lot. I've got Easter cupcakes to make this evening. Excited. I even tried making chocolate mousses a while ago. Was it a couple of weeks ago? They turned out surprisingly well. I thought they were going to be really difficult to make, but they were not. I'm also teaching myself how to draw as well. I'm reading a lot more. I can actually get through a book a day if I like read over my lunch break, and I read in the evenings as well. Um, yeah, I'm bad like that. I kind of devour books instead of savoring them. Um, but yeah, let me know what sort of hobbies you're into at the moment. Whether it's family history, whether you've just taken up family history, or whether it's something completely different. Um, Sue, oh, going back to the children, she found someone who had 23 children. 23. And Rosie says her grandfather was one of 15. Wow, that's incredible. Um, Karen, my husband and I both matched the same person through DNA testing. I matched through the man's father, and my husband matches through his mother. Wow, that's impressive. What else have we got here? Hillary, family with 20 children. Goodness. June, I recently went to a talk about Belvoir angels, which are a particular kind of stone with an angel on the Vale of Belvoir. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if not. One of the names on the stones was a name in my family tree. A bit of research, and it turned out to be my 9 times great grandparents. And right by the church door, they must have been well off. That is incredible. That that really is a sort of penny drop moment, isn't it? Um, that's wonderful, June. Thank you for sharing that. Sue, she said she's got into art and she's been making laundry kit bags for nurses. That is fantastic, Sue. That's such a nice thing to do, especially if you've got the patience and the know-how to be able to make things like that. So that's wonderful. Karen says, after Miko's presentation on Scottish indexes, she spent most of the day going through her husband's first cousin's 8 times removed Jacobite life. That was a tongue twister. And she says that he ended up being convicted and sentenced to death, but that was commuted to leaving the country and went to St. Kitts where he died. I feel like some of these people could have whole biographies written on them. Some of our ancestors, they just lived such. I don't know if colourful is the right word. There's just so much just happens to them, and I think sometimes we forget when we're adding to our trees and we're finding our 8 times great grandparents, that they're not just names on trees. These were people who lived real lives and lived through their own struggles and experienced their own incredible moments through family and career. Okay, career if you're a man perhaps. um but yeah, I think we forget that sometimes, and it's nice to find context around what our ancestors were up to. And yeah, if you've got little biographies on any of your ancestors, I'd be really, really interested to see or to read through a few of those, if you're kind enough to share them. Denise says, my garden is looking pretty good. Just mowed the lawn before coming to join. Good plan. Kim says, my youngest daughter is learning Welsh. I'm trying to keep up with her. Diane, my Welsh is not very good, I'm afraid. I started learn because I grew up in Wales, and I had to learn it up to the age of 16. But I was asked by Miko very recently, before he went to Roots Tech in Salt Lake City, in his big presentation in the auditorium, he was talking about the sort of geography of Britain and the United Kingdom, and do's and don'ts and languages and topography and things like that. And he did include some Welsh on that, just for the laughs from the audience, I think. And he did ask me how to pronounce a few things, and my pronunciation's not very good anyway. But yeah, fantastic on the Welsh is what I meant to say, Kim. It's not the easiest language to learn. You have to kind of use a lot of ths and I'm really sorry if that sounded horrible down the internet line. Sylvia says, I'm attempting to solve a DNA match. I think I've just found an earlier marriage, so digging down a burrow. Well, good luck with that. Let us know how you get on. And going back to hobbies, William says he's looking into model railways. That's good. And it'll be interesting doing this one as it is university day. So he's fitting in family history, his degree, and model railways. That's impressive. I'm really always really impressed with how people can multitask so well, with all everything that's going on in your lives. Rose says she's making sauces and drinks from fruits and vegetables. That sounds fantastic. I'm so envious of people who have their own gardens. One of my best friends grows her own flowers, and I just keep seeing pictures of these beautiful hand-grown bouquets, and she is taking them and just dropping them on the doorsteps of her neighbours just to brighten up their day. And I keep sending her messages of, can I have one please? But of course she lives down in I think somewhere in Surrey. Have I got the right county? Maybe not. Eric says photography is another one of my hobbies. Very handy to match up with family history, finding graves of ancestors, absolutely, and taking pictures of memorials and churches. Maybe make a book of them for all of my family. You should absolutely do that. I love photography as well, actually. I'm not very good at it. It was something my dad actually really enjoyed doing in his spare time. My younger sister, I think, is the photographer in the family. Yeah, she's got that gene. What else have we got here? Sylvia says she's written a blog for the Centre of Scottish Culture, and that's going to be published next week. So keep an eye out for that, everybody. It's about an overlooked Scottish inoculation pioneer. Fantastic. Diane says that her hall just got a third coat of paint. Brilliant. June says that she's keeping a day-by-day diary through this strange time to leave for her family in the future. That's a good idea, actually. It's something that maybe we don't think about now. But if, for example, if I came across a diary of a great grandparent or an ancestor, I would be absolutely thrilled. Especially if it was living through World War One, for example, or through the Victorian times, going back even earlier. I'd be absolutely thrilled to have that little piece of personal history. I think now might be the time to write your memoirs as well. If you've not written your memoirs yet, go for it. Because that again is something you can pass on to your family, and for future family historians, that is going to be gold dust. Let me tell you that. Sylvia said, I once shared a room at college with a Welsh lady who taught me how to pronounce Llanfairpg in full. Is this asking me to try and pronounce it? Oh, go on, Sylvia, you twisted my arm. Llanfairpg go gercht yn dod Llantysilio go go goch. I hope that was acceptable. Karen says, my dad on his maternal line, his fifth times great grandmother Elizabeth Herbert, daughter of Vere Herbert, Sheriff of Caldicot. Fantastic. This was a great find. That's good. Fantastic. Patricia, she collects Edwardian postcards. I love postcards, especially old ones. I just love old photographs. Old photographs are incredible, no matter what they're of. I just absolutely love old photos. I keep asking my grandmother, who is my only living grandmother, for our collection of photographs. And every time I bring up the conversation, she just changes the topic. I don't think she wants me to have them. But I will keep asking her, trust me. And Karen says, love photography, craft, gardening, but restricted to genealogy at present. 5 weeks post carpal tunnel. Ouch, that must be painful. And Eric says, just use the electoral register to narrow down when my great grandfather died. That's good to hear. Fantastic. Thank you, Sylvia, for complimenting my pronunciation. It does need some work. I have been using Duolingo to improve my Welsh, but maybe I need to get back to it. So I think that's taken us nicely up to 35 minutes. As I said, I'm not going to do the full hour like Alex does. I could just sit here and talk about other hobbies and other bits that I found in family history, but maybe we'll save those for another time. So I suppose that all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for joining me today and for listening to me waffle on with my did you notice my daffodil mug, by the way? My boyfriend bought me this for my birthday. You can take the girl out of Wales, but you can't take Wales out of the girl. Something like that. I'm not sure if Niall did manage to get into the comments, but if he did, thank you very much for that. Next week, in terms of live content, we've got Niall doing a presentation on newspapers on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, Miko is going to be doing Italian research and also how to research those who came into the UK as well. Those will both be at 4 o'clock, subject to change and also subject to technical issues. I was tearing my hair out a little bit on Tuesday with the Facebook issues that we had with Paul Nixon's talk. I was upset that you guys couldn't, that you didn't get a chance to see all of that. But the gremlins prevailed that day, but hopefully they will not prevail again. I just wanted to give another shout out to everybody who is helping each other out in our little community at the moment. A huge shout out as well to the Findmypast forum moderators. The work that you do in this forum is, you just go above and beyond, and I don't know how I could do this without you, so thank you so much. It is very, very, very much appreciated. So I hope that you all have a lovely Easter. We'll just read through a couple of these last comments before we sign off. No, thank you, Karen. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, Denise has got letters. I love letters. Letters are almost as good as photographs. Sylvia, happy Easter. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Denise. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Karen. I know, I absolutely love daffodils. I've got tulips on that side and I've got daffodils behind me. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, William. Happy Easter, everybody. Stay safe. Take up a new hobby, and I'll see you next time. Bye.